in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noe. Okay, we'll now begin questioning, and I want to recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Eunice, I'll start with you. Thank you for your testimony today. As you and I know, and as you shared with everyone, Georgia has one of the best air quality departments in the nation, and I appreciate you presenting your perspective on that today. You referenced in your statement that Georgia landed 2 of the largest economic development projects in state history in the last few years, and both of them are EV manufacturing plants. In fact, you also noted that one of them is in my district, the single largest economic development project in the history of our state. A $5.5 billion investment, creating over 8,100 jobs, probably that much more of an investment in ancillary businesses, probably that many more jobs in ancillary businesses. So obviously we're very excited about that. But in your testimony, it shows that industrial emissions are a relatively small portion of the emission profile, and a lot is background and other sources. This seems to miss the mark for improving air quality. Do you think that standards should be set that are attainable?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I think that's one of the considerations that should be taken by the KSAC and that EPA should consider. In fact, Georgia's Division of Air Quality Director, Dr. Jim Boylan, formerly served on the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Committee, and that's a point that he made in multiple discussions over his 6 years of service.
Well, let me ask you this. These 2 facilities that we referenced and that have been located in Georgia, would they have been located there under this recently finalized PM 2.5 standard?
So in my experience, when an economic prospect comes into Georgia and asks about specific locations that they would like to locate their facilities, the first thing they ask is this area in attainment with NAAQS or not? And if the answer is no, then that option is very quickly stricken from their consideration, just because they know the hurdles they'll have to go through will be enormous.
So if these new standards for PM 2.5 are implemented, would they force the state to create compliance plans across all the economically active areas of the state, which constitute about 90% of the population, I believe you said? That's a large new burden for these communities, isn't it?
It would be, and I do want to clarify that some of these areas, after we do some additional modeling, may not end up being a non-attainment, but from our initial estimates, this is what this 90% of the population of our state would be impacted.
Good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Eunice. Mr. Noe, I'll go to you. As you know, we got a lot of paper mills in South Georgia.
Yes, sir.
In fact, my dad worked in a paper mill for 33 years and made sure that I worked there for 2 summers, and I couldn't get back to college quick enough, I'll tell you. You work on a broke beater in a paper mill, and it'll make you want to go back and study hard. So I appreciate your industry and everything that y'all do. But as you know, today we're examining this draft legislation and to modernize NAAQS and the standard-setting process. As part of that modernization effort, do you think we should look at providing more time for compliance in this draft bill?
Here's what we need, Mr. Chairman. The short answer is yes, but this is what's critical. We need a real-world workable implementation plan with the rule. We've got things asked backwards now. The rule comes out, it's tightened dramatically. We don't have a workable implementation plan. That's a recipe for permit gridlock, and we've been asking the agency for a decade to reform its broken air permit program.
You know, the proponents of this, of the new PM 2.5 standard, have said that industry always adapts. And to a certain extent, that's true, and we appreciate that. But is that really the case when the standard's getting so close to the background levels? I mean, you in your testimony said, you know, there's only so much you can do.
Well, here's the problem, okay? Because we have this broken permit program, projects are in jeopardy all across our country. The map that's behind you, the maps at page 17 of my testimony, shows that the country lights up. No longer do we have much green, which is go. You can go forward. We got a lot more red, non-attainment, but what is huge is the pink. And what that means is the standard is at 9, but average background in this country is 8. This is simple math. You typically need 3 micrograms, modeled micrograms, for a project to be approved. The math no longer works because you can only say 8 plus 1. If you're plus anything beyond 1, you're at grave risk that no project can happen. That map shows it in dramatic detail, and those black dots on that map are real permits that were approved at 12 that would be blocked at 9.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Noy, and thank all of you for being here. I'll yield back and at this time recognize the ranking member, Mr. Tonko, for 5 minutes of questioning.